Okay, welcome to Yin. Let's start today. We'll start seated today in Ardha Virasana. So you'll have the legs extended out in front of you. Lean over to your right hip and bend the left leg. And you'll need to manually take the top of the left foot and get it so that you can point the toes behind you if possible, but the foot's outside of the left hip. So you should be able to try to get that left sit bone down on the mat as best you can. If you're finding that you're tilted way over to one side, grab a block or a blanket. You got to figure out the right height for you. It depends on how far over to the right you're going. So if you can try to get the left sit bone down, great. You can sit upright. You could start to walk the hands back. We all have a different level of comfort in this pose. We're only doing half of it. So, meaning one leg's forward, one leg is back. And when we do half of it, sometimes it gives us a little bit more space to get the both sit bones down and maybe start to recline. And if you're very comfortable in this and you can lie all the way back and keep the heart rate down and stay calm, then feel free to do that. This is a challenging pose for me personally. So this is as far as I'm going to take it in this moment. And with the hands back behind you, if you're sitting reclined, you don't have to, you could stay upright. Maybe you look down, or maybe you close the eyes, see which one feels better. Start to take a deep breath in through the nose, back out through the nose. Inhale in through the nose and back out. One more like that. Inhale in through the nose, back out through the nose. Keep going on your own. Starting to push away any distractions, anything else, any swirl that's happening in the mind. Bringing your focus and attention to your breath. And your body. Try to stay inside. Closing the eyes is a great way to do that. You limit distraction. If you still need a visual, attach a visual to your breath. Ocean waves always work for most of us. And if you become more comfortable and you want to take this further, you just recline back further. Could be on your forearms. Could be lying all the way down. But you want that left knee to stay down. Sometimes we go so far back that the left knee begins to lift away from the mat, and that's too far. You'll start to bring yourself back up. If you're all the way down on your back, come to the forearms first. Once you get to the forearms, come up to the hands, come up to seated, lean over to the right side, extend that left leg out in front of you. So both legs are out in front of you. You can start to circle that left foot around a little bit. I'm doing both feet. It's kind of hard to just circle one. Go the other way. And we'll start to transition sides. So we lean over to the left hip, bend the right leg, grab for that top of the right foot. Try to get the right hip down toward the mat, maybe even touching the mat. Make sure you're not sitting on the right foot, and knees are close together. So as close as you can get them. Right knee's definitely down on the mat. If it's lifted, then you need to put something underneath the hips. Sometimes it's just a blanket and you don't really need more than that. If you feel comfortable starting to recline back. This side might be different. So don't force yourself into the same exact place if it's not happening naturally, or maybe you're more open on that side. Don't be scared of that if that's happening. Try to listen to your own body and let it guide you. So we're trying to stay away from our fullest expression of the pose. to start. We want to drift into that over time. And maybe we don't come all the way in the entire time we're in this pose. If you feel like you can recline back more, feel free to do that whenever it's calling to you. And if you feel like you've maybe gone too far in, start to bring yourself back up to a comfortable place. And start to bring yourself back up. If you're all the way down, come up to your forearms first, then the hands. You'll lean over to the left hip, extend the right leg forward. Same thing we did before. You can have the hands back behind you and just roll out the feet and the ankles, going in one direction and switching, going the other way. So we have the legs bent. Let's stretch them. You'll need to strap something like it. Have that near the side of the hips. Bring the soles of the feet to the mat. Come on down onto your back and loop the sole of the right foot into the strap. Extend the leg up. Right leg can go out in front of you. And grab the strap on both ends. So you have a strap in both hands, one side of the strap in both hands. You could slide the hands back so that the elbows rest down on the mat, but keep that left leg as straight as you can get it. So left toes come down toward the face. Think about opening up the backside of the knee. Notice the tension in the strap. You want to keep it, but if you're gripping the strap with the hands tightly, see if you can loosen that grip without losing the tension in the strap. And as you become comfortable, sometimes you start to lose the effort. Make sure you're still pointing the heel up, toes down, working toward a straighter leg if there's a bend. And you'll loop the sole of the right foot into the strap. So bring the right foot in, let the left leg go out in front of you. Same thing, other side. So try to bring the strap to the ball of the foot, or maybe just below it. Keep the both ends of the strap in both hands. Definitely keeping some tension in the strap. Start to bring the toes down toward the face, heel up. Upper arms can rest down on the mat. If the strap or whatever you're using is long enough, sometimes it's not long enough, and that's fine if the arms are reaching up. Just try not to take the shoulders with you to do that. Head still resting on the mat wherever you are. Check out your grip on the strap. See if you can loosen it at all without losing the tension. And start to set the strap off to the side. Bring the knees in toward the chest. You can rock side to side a little bit. Set the feet down to the mat. Roll over to your right side. Use the hands to bring yourself up to seated. And have the legs out in front of you. Similar to what we did before, you'll lean over to the right hip. Bend the left knee. So you're just bringing the left knee in line with the hip. Inner edge of that left foot is on the ground. Toes are pointing away from you. And then you can bend this right leg coming into deer pose. So trying to find a 90-degree angle with both legs. Make sure your strap's within reach. We're probably going to use it. So right knee in line with the right hip. Left knee in line with the left hip, and feet away from you the way mine are is more intense. If it feels like it's too much, bring the feet in toward the body and see if that helps. Otherwise, you're trying to work that left hip down to the mat. It's not going to touch, but just think about that. Grab onto your strap with the, actually set the strap to the side. We won't use that just yet. Bring the left arm up overhead. So you're reaching up. And this, if you're leaning over to the right, that's fine. Skip this part. If you feel confident sitting upright with the legs in this shape, then you can add the upper body. So left arm overhead, bend the left arm like you're reaching down the back. See if you can grab the elbow with the right hand. Chest is lifted. Gaze is forward, so you keep the chest lifted. Also keeps that left arm behind the head. And if it's too much for that left side lower back, skip the upper body. Kind of depends on how upright you can keep the upper body, which just isn't the easiest pose to do that in. And gently start to release just the arms. Stay in deer pose. Feel that release on the shoulders. Chest stays upright. To come out, you'll lean to the right, bring the legs forward out in front of you. And we'll start to switch over to the other side. So lean over to the left hip, bend the legs, right knee in line with the right hip, left knee in line with the left hip. And then it's up to you where the feet go. They could be in toward the body or more away from you. Somewhere in between is fine too. If you do have that nice 90-degree angle with the legs, make sure your feet are flexed. So inner edge of the right foot's down and outer edge of the left foot's down. And try to sit up tall. You're gently moving the right hip toward the mat instead of away from the mat, knowing that there'll be some kind of lift. You might be leaning way over to the left. That's fine. If you are, stay there, skip the upper body. If you feel like you can stay upright and you don't really need the hands to keep you there, we can add the shoulder opening. So right arm reaches up overhead, bend the right arm, and then see if you're comfortable grabbing that elbow. Left hand to the right elbow, keeping the chest lifted. Gaze forward. Focus on one spot. Try not to move the eyes. Stay with that same breath we started with, in and out through the nose. And if at any point you need a break with the upper body, don't feel like you have to stay in this shape. You can always bring the arms down, come back in if you feel like it, or just stay with the arms down. And gently release the arms. Stay in the same shape. Chest stays lifted. Fingertips are down on the mat to help you sit up as tall as you possibly can. and start to lean over to the left hip. Bring the legs forward out in front of you. Good. So we'll do one more hip opening and we'll add the shoulder opening too. So keep the left leg out in front of you. Just bring the sole of the right foot to the mat, bending that knee. Step the right foot over the left leg. And you can stop whenever you want to. So the half version of this pose, you grab the outer right ankle, move the foot over to the side, working towards stacked knees. And you can stay in half Gomukhasana with the legs. Some of us are comfortable leaning over to that left hip, bending the left leg, making sure that the feet aren't underneath you. So both sit bones are down on the mat. And now you have the legs. So you can stay with just the legs if you want to. If you have a strap, grab the strap in the left hand, reach that left arm up overhead, bend the left arm so you're hanging the strap between the shoulder blades. Right arm comes out to the side, thumb side down. Bring the right arm behind the back and start to work the hand up the back. Not as far as you can go, just enough to where you start to feel a shoulder opening on the right side as well as the left side. So there should be some space between the hands. If you're really comfortable connecting the hands and you don't need the strap, but you can skip it. Then you can start to fold forward. Go slow as you fold forward. Maybe the hands separate a little bit. You can let that right hand go down the strap. Just make sure you keep some tension there. And you're not trying to go as deep as you can into this pose. This is a big shape. We've been working toward it, opening up the hips, lower body joints, and starting to get into deeper shoulder opening. And if you have anything going on in the upper body where this isn't working for you for whatever reason, you can skip it and just focus on the legs folding forward with the hands down in front of you. But once you start to fold forward, you'll feel the body just kind of keeps going in that direction. The torso becomes heavier. And slowly start to bring the upper body back up if you're folding forward. Let the strap go to the side. And bring the hands back behind you. Extend the legs out in front of you. Let's do windshield wipers. So bring the soles of the feet to the mat wide and let the knees go side to side. And we did deer pose already, so you should feel like you can go down a little deeper with the knees with less resistance. And we'll start to switch sides. So come to seated with the legs out in front of you. This time we bring the sole of the left foot to the mat. Step the left foot over the right leg. Grab onto the outer left ankle. Move the foot over to the side, working towards stacking the knees. Maybe you stay here in half Gomukhasana, or maybe you lean over to the right, bend the bottom leg. See how that works. You want to try to get both sit bones down. You could prop yourself up on a block here too. And with this one, we'll grab the strap in the right hand, reach the right arm up overhead, bend the right elbow, hanging the strap between the shoulder blades. Left arm comes out to the side, thumb side down. Bring the left arm behind the back. Work the hand up the back just until you feel a nice shoulder opening begin to happen on the left side. Sit up tall. So the elbows are coming in toward the body. Right elbow in toward the head, left elbow down and back. And slowly start to hinge forward. Maybe it's just a tiny bit. Maybe you can go forward pretty far and keep it in an easy place. Find a good place to start in the pose, knowing that you're going to go much, much deeper over time without any force, without any effort. Simply drifting into it. You'll start to bring the upper body back up, coming back to seated. Set the strap off to the side, releasing the shoulder opening. Lean over to the right side, extend the right leg, extend the left leg. And then from here, bring the hands back behind you, soles of the feet to the mat. You can turn the toes out, bring the knees side to side like windshield wipers. Finding a release in the hips. And you'll come back to center. Let's come forward to hands and knees. So coming into tabletop. If you need extra padding for the knees, double up the mat or put a blanket underneath the knees. Let's bring the elbows and forearms down to the mat. And once you get there, make sure your thighs are vertical. So you want to keep the hips right over the knees. The hips will want to go forward. Try to see if you can keep them right where they are. And then bring the forearms and elbows ahead of the shoulders. And you'll start to feel a deeper upper body opening. Forehead comes down to the mat. We've done a lot of shoulder openings, so maybe you don't feel quite as much as you typically do in this pose. Melting heart pose. Hug the belly in. Another option with the arms, if it feels like it's a natural next step, is bringing the hands together like prayer and back behind the head. That happens and it's going well, you can walk the elbows forward. If it becomes too much at any point, bring the hands down. Stay with the variation that we were in right before this. If you have the hands behind the head, bring them back down to the mat. Lift the head up. Bring the elbows back underneath the shoulders and bring the hands to the mat. So hands underneath the shoulders. Let's do a few rounds of cat-cow. On the inhale, reach the heart forward, lift the tail. And on the exhale, gentle rounding of the spine, not as deep as you can go. Inhale, reach the heart forward. Exhale, round. Keep going on your own. Maybe 3 more rounds. Keep it slow. You'll make your way back to a neutral spine. We'll be standing on the knees. If you want to add some more padding, you can just double up the mat. I'm doing it because I'm on a hard surface, but you might be on carpet or a softer surface. Tuck the toes underneath you, bring the hands, come up to standing on the knees, bring the hands to the lower back. So you can have the fingertips pointing down, or you could turn the hands around so the fingertips are pointing up. It's a matter of mobility in the wrists and the forearms. Hug the outer elbows in so they're pointing straight back. You'll feel a nice broad chest. Keep the hips right over the knees, lift the inner thighs, lift the core. Maybe the chest starts to go back, but the hips don't go back. So only the chest can go behind the knees, upper body. You can stay with the gaze going straight forward. Feel the length in the neck when you look forward. You can play with looking up, see if that picks up the heart rate too much, or if you lose the length in the backside of the neck. So camel's another big pose. We did a back bend before this. Bring the gaze forward if you changed it. Chest comes back up over the knees. Untuck the toes. Sit back onto the heels, coming into kneeling. Can also use a block if this isn't available. Hands can just rest on the thighs. Close the eyes. Keep the chest lifted. Notice the heart rate. It's probably picked up a bit, beating stronger. And we'll come back in for another round. So come back up onto the knees. You could have the tops of the feet down. You can tuck the toes, figure out which one you feel more secure with. And if you're thinking about reaching the hands back, maybe tuck the toes so that the heels are a little bit higher. Hands come to the lower back, either fingertips down or fingertips up. See what's available today. Hug the outer elbows in, lift the inner thighs, hips right over the knees. Chest starts to go back. Stay here, or you could bring the hands back to the heels if that feels like a natural next step for you. Front side of the body is what we're opening. So you should feel lots of length there. Also length in the lower back. So pubic bone to tailbone, tailbone to pubic bone. Back side of the body's contracting to open the front side. Gaze is forward or up. And one's not necessarily better than the other. So you just see which one you like better. If you have the hands on the feet, bring the hands back to the lower back. We'll all lift the chest back up, untuck the toes if they're tucked, sit back onto the heels, rest. Eyes open or closed, but with the eyes closed, you can stay inside, see what's happening in there. Feel all the energy that you're bringing into the body. One last round. So come back up onto the knees, toes tucked or untucked. Knees are not touching. So you have the knees hip width distance apart, hands to the lower back to start, no matter where you're planning on ending up, fingertips down or fingertips up. Lift the inner thighs, hips right over the knees, chest starts to lean back. Maybe you keep the hands on the lower back. Maybe you bring the hands to the heels. Either way, find that length in the front side of the body. Find a focal point for you to gaze to. And slowly come back up, hands to the lower back. Sit back onto the heels, bringing the knees and the inner edges of the feet together. Close the eyes. Resting here. Done with those. Eyes can open. We'll come to hands and knees. If you have the mat folded, unroll it so it's back to its regular length. Come back to forearms down on the mat. Walk the feet back behind you, set the hips down, almost like you're coming into Sphinx pose. But this time we'll bring the left knee out to the side. So inner edge of that left foot is down on the ground, toes pointing out. Maybe left hip, maybe left knee in line with the hip. It could be lower. And then with the arms, look forward, keep the legs in this shape. Open up the elbows wide, still keeping that bend in the arms. So your chest starts to come down, elbows in line with the shoulders. See if you can turn the head to the right and rest the head down on the mat. If that doesn't feel good, you can always look the other way, but you're feeling a twist in the spine. It's also a nice resting pose after that big camel ustrasana back bend we just did. You're also getting into that left hip again, left inner thigh. You'll blink open the eyes, start to lift the head up. Keep the legs, just bring the forearms back to the mat. So like Sphinx pose. Right hand's pointing forward. Take the right hand, bring it behind the left elbow. And then stretch that left arm forward, palm faces up. You'll come onto the side of the right hip and reach the left arm back behind you, coming into a reclined spinal twist. So we're still staying in a twist. We're just changing the twist so that we're on our back. Top knee, left knee's going one direction, chest is going the other. Arms can be out wide if you'd like. You could also put a block underneath this left knee. if you want something to rest the knee on. If you're choosing between getting the shoulder or the knee down to the mat, both might not touch. And if that's the case, that's fine. It's more about the shoulder, left shoulder coming down than the left knee going down to the mat. And you're trying to keep the head, right hip, and right foot in one line. So you want to be completely on the side of the right hip. Gaze can go over the left shoulder if your neck's okay with that. Turn the head to the right so you're looking over the right shoulder. Bring the left arm all the way over on top of the right arm. Keep the legs, bring the forearms back down to the mat so you're like Sphinx pose with the left knee out to the side. And now you can bring that left leg back behind you, finding Sphinx pose just as a transition. Bring the right knee out to the side, inner edge of the foot down on the ground, toes turning out. Widen the elbows, look to the left, rest the right side of the head down on the mat. If you need to turn the head the other way, please do so. And you can feel that subtle twist here in the spine. And let's lift the head back up, blinking open the eyes. Bring the elbows in. So you're coming back to that Sphinx shape just with the upper body. And then take the left hand, bring it behind the right elbow. You can turn the palm to face up. Stretch that left arm underneath you, starting to roll back. So right arm reaches back behind you. Shift so that you're on completely on the side of the left hip. Maybe you look to the left. Maybe you stay looking up. Maybe you look to the, maybe you look to the right over the right shoulder. That's the deepest variation for the neck. You could put a block underneath that right knee or a blanket, whatever you have, if you want to rest it on something. Try to keep the head, left hip, left foot in one line. And begin to explore this twist. So just come part of the way. You know, you'll go deeper. You'll bring the head back to center. You'll simply come onto your back from here. So bring the right foot to the mat, shift onto your back. We're coming straight into Shavasana. So extend the legs out in front of you, arms down by the sides. If you need padding for the head, great. Grab it. If you're comfortable, just flat on the mat, stay flat on the mat. Close the eyes. Start to let the body settle. So this is your final relaxation pose. All the poses before this one getting you here. You'll start to wiggle the fingers and the toes. Reach the right arm up overhead. Bring the sole of the left foot to the mat. Roll over to your right side. You can bend the knees. See if you can rest the head and the bicep of the arm, keeping the arm straight. Left arm can just rest on the side of the body. So the shoulder might be open enough so that you can comfortably get the head resting in the bicep of the right arm. Something to try today. If it's not happening, it's not a big deal. Left hand comes to the floor in front of you. Bring yourself up to a comfortable seat. Sitting up tall, hands come together in front of you. Slight bow of the head. Honor and acknowledge your heart and spirit, as well as everyone around you. Bring the head up, blink open the eyes. Namaste. Thank you. That was deep work today in the hips, shoulders, really full body. We did some deep back bends too. Hope you enjoyed that and twists. I'll see you next time.